Greetings, fellow artists. This is a 1-hour master study that I did of the master Edgar Payne. This is playing back at 4 times speed, so if you want to see it in real time, you can slow down the playback speed to 0.25 speed and see every brushstroke in real time. So first I'm just getting the overall block in of the land, of the sea and the sky. And the first big shape that I noticed besides that is the triangle created by the light reflecting off these waves. And I'm picking up on the shifts in the reflection of the water from more of a light blue to a teal green, and from lighter to darker as you get closer to the bottom of the picture plane and closer to the viewer. Then, interestingly enough, as you look further back in the water, it's actually darker the furthest back, probably because it's in shadow. So I'm blocking in the boats, and then the boats are almost reversed from the water, with the boat closest to us being in shadow, and the boat further back being in light. And it's interesting because the boats have a pinkish cast to them. Those marks were a bit too dark. So I see some grays as well as some more intense blue strokes in the waves that are in light. And then as the wave rolls, the part further back becomes darker in the middle before reflecting more of the sky. So even though it's a similar value, I see the shifts in color from blue to purple to teal. And then there's the reflection of the boats in the water. I think around this point, I began to notice that Edgar Payne actually put a darker sort of outline around the clouds that popped them out. And then there's that rich, warm color to the clouds, but there's still some cooler, darker grays as well. So it's not just one flat color. And I noticed it gets a bit warmer on the edge between the light and the shadow. And I saw that the waves in the back actually go up above what you would see as the horizon line, giving some movement to the water. I also realized that his brush strokes were fairly smaller and more linear, almost like a hatching technique. Not just one big flat shape. And you can really see it in the sky. It looks like a different cloud pattern up above the big fluffy clouds, that there'd be maybe stratus clouds higher up in the atmosphere, but with the sky poking through. And the sky getting darker and more teal as you go higher. And bluer and more pastel and lighter as you go lower to the horizon. There's also a gradation in the clouds. The clouds also get darker, but they start to pick up some of the pink and yellows from the setting sun. So I imagine perhaps he put in a line, dark line where he wanted the clouds to be, and then painted the clouds over it without completely covering up the line. And then maybe in parts he popped the darker line back out in places. But it makes the clouds come forward compared to the background. This being only a 1 hour study, I didn't put in the birds, but I'm not even sure that I observed that there were birds in the painting while I was doing it. So I can see that the strokes of the clouds follow the form of the clouds as they roll over and turn, almost like big cotton balls. And you put a light cloud right up to the edge of the dark sail, which helps pop it out. And there are areas of this cloud in the shadow where it reflects more of the blue of the sky and gets grayer but slightly bluer. So it makes for a richer color to have the warm against the cool. And as the clouds recede further back, the contrast gets less between the light and the dark. The lights aren't as light and the darks aren't as dark, as part of the atmospheric perspective. Just working back and forth between the clouds and the sky. I imagine that during this, he would hold in his mind the direction of the light and what that does to the form, not just copying whatever he saw, but really designing and choosing what and where he wants the elements to be placed. trying to get the underside of those dark clouds to show the form of the clouds. Putting in a bit of suggested detail on the boats. Trying to pick up on the fact that there are more intense colors in a shape, and then slightly duller, slightly lighter areas as well. But they're really just brush strokes and shapes. Going back into the water, putting in some more intense colors. And I notice he sprinkled in an impression of even more sails in the distance going back, almost pure white along the horizon. Again, the brush strokes going along the surface of the water to show the reflection of the different angles of the waves. Popping in some of the crests where the waves start to break and the foam starts to come in. Working back and forth between different colors, slightly different values. Trying to work on these waves. Notice that in spots, the foam of the waves breaks and you see the darkness below. Picking up on some purples, transitioning the forms into each other, the different parts of the waves. Getting more of that sky blue reflected in the waves, and some intense teals with bigger strokes as you come forward. It's almost like you can clearly see the large shapes of the waves, but then they have tiny strokes, or smaller strokes, smaller forms that break it up. But you can see the overall shape of the waves. You see perhaps some of the clouds reflected. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, and I'll be back with another master study in the next video.